But here's the issue, okay? And I've been talking about this for a while now, okay? And kind of warning people about this whole situation in regards to Lucid. Here's the deal. Look at Lucid's starting prices, $87,000. That's a starting price, okay? $107,000, $138,000, $249,000, okay? They're trying to sell to wealthy folks. Let's call it what it is, okay? I mean, basically, you're looking at $100,000 plus, 6 figures plus for one of their vehicles. So you're trying to sell to the top, I don't know, 5 or 10% of income earners out there, right? Now, when you're selling to wealthy folks, you better have the product and the brand that resonates with wealthy folks, okay? You have to have that. Like why do wealthy people buy Louis Vuitton or, I don't know, Dior or whatever the high-end brands are? It's because they view those brands in a prestigious way, right? And so they don't mind spending $3,000 on a bag or $5,000 on a bag or whatever, right? But Lucid hasn't done that with their brand, to be quite frank. And if you're thinking about Elon Musk and Tesla versus this Lucid company, the issue is, at the end of the day, they're competing directly with this car right here, okay? This is what you have to compete with. A car that gets nearly 400 miles of range, that goes 0 to 60 in less than 2 seconds, which makes it arguably the fastest car in the world, 0 to 60, that's street legal, right? A car that has 200 miles per hour top speed, 1,000 horsepower, more tech than you could ever imagine what to even do with, and a brand that is far more prestigious than Lucid, a brand that hardly anybody even knows about and anybody resonates with. And you ask anybody, like, what would they rather have, a Lucid or a Tesla? They're going to say Tesla without question, okay? I live, obviously, in very wealthy areas. Guess what? People got a lot of Model S's here. You know how many Lucids are in my neighborhood? One Lucid. Okay, and I bet you that person wished they bought a Model S Plaid, okay? At the end of the day, like, no one wants to get that car versus a Model S, okay? Unless you just really want to be different that bad, okay? At the end of the day, if you have to pick out of those two, you're going with the Model S, bottom line. And so Lucid has to compete against the behemoth that is Tesla, and that's just, it's an impossible challenge, okay? And never mind that, you tack on the financials that are a dumpster fire with this company, and there's no promise of like anything bigger. If you understand Tesla's game plan, Elon Musk's game plan with Tesla, it was always about selling high-end vehicles, right, and then scaling to vehicles that they could get into more and more mass production, right, until they eventually sell in millions and millions and millions of vehicles a year, which is exactly, they've executed exactly how they wanted to execute, and it's going to perfection. Let's just call it that, okay? And so there's always something bigger. With Lucid, they're trying to just be, I don't know, a Mercedes, or I don't know, a BMW, or I don't know what, okay, of EVs. But why is somebody going to pay $100-something thousand? You got to understand, when you're spending that sort of money, you have so many options. At that price point, get a Model S Plaid. It's going to be way better product. Or if you want to get an internal combustion engine, there's far better options out there for $100,000+ than getting one of those Lucids, in my opinion. And taking a risk on a brand that, I don't know, like there's some new company trying to make it, and, you know, I don't know, they don't really have anything cool about them. They don't. They literally don't have anything cool about them. They don't have the most tech. They're not going to be the fastest. Like, and they don't have somebody behind the company that's super cool. They don't have an Elon Musk, right? So when you look at it from all those different standpoints, that makes it really, really difficult for a company like Lucid. Now, what I'll say is, if you're really in the mode of like, I've got to find something else to invest in the EV space outside of Tesla, okay? Here's what I'll say. I mean, if I had to be forced to do something else, I would go Rivian, okay? And why Rivian? So Rivian has the backing of Amazon One, right? They obviously have the massive amount of orders that obviously Amazon's put in over time. Their pickup truck seems somewhat successful. I see a decent amount of Rivians driving around my area, okay? Not a ton, but I'll see maybe 1 or 2 a week driving around in my area, and they're pretty noticeable because their front headlights are like pretty much something, you know, so much different than anybody else. Their SUV looks very like a very solid SUV. Like if let's say that the Model X didn't exist. I have a Model X too. If the Model X didn't exist, the thing I would get for my family personally is the Rivian SUV. That's what I would get, okay? And so for that standpoint, I think that's pretty attractive. It's big, right? And I wouldn't be surprised if someday I might own a Rivian because they are big, they are spacious, and it seems like more spacious than like a Model X. So, as my kids get older, maybe someday I own a Rivian. So I think between the Amazon backing, what I've seen for products from Rivian, kind of them ramping up here, I think Rivian has a real chance to be a good company long term. It's just a question of like, is it worth $13 billion, right? So another way you could play Rivian is do what I'm doing and own Amazon stock, because Amazon owns a huge portion of Rivian, right? So if Rivian succeeds over the next 5-10 years, and let's say it becomes a $130 billion company, it's going to benefit Amazon in a great way. Plus with Amazon, you're getting all the other businesses and whatnot. So that's just another way you could play it, okay? Now, NIO's a potential if you're really, if you told me, okay, now I got to buy something other than Rivian. So let's say I can't own Tesla, I can't own Rivian. Let's say you can't own Amazon. So what's your next EV play? And you got to buy something. Then I'll go to NIO at that point in time, okay? If I'm really forced into that. NIO is in a tough place. They're having to compete with Tesla, which is vicious in China right now. Tesla's obviously been very aggressive with pricing, and they're stealing sales away from NIO. Plus, NIO's got all those other Chinese competitors to deal with. So, if I was forced into something, I would go NIO from there. Aside of that, there's just absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. And Lucid, to be quite frank, is on hopes and prayers, folks. And you got to be careful of these sorts of stocks. I've definitely, gotten caught up in my past 15 years. I've gotten caught up into plenty of stocks that thinking, oh, this company's the next this or that. And then you just realize, like, it's not. It's not, to be quite frank. And you just got to kind of realize that and, like, this is not the next Tesla. It's not even close. The big question is Lucid bankrupt in the next 12 to 18 months? Or do they somehow slide through and become a Mercedes over time? And I don't think that's a very high probability either. That makes it tough for a company like this, folks, okay?